the Washington managerial elite, the establishment, if you will, is working harder than an ugly stripper to cover up whatever happened.
So I got to tell you, we have a thing in my house, my youngest son, who watches the news. You know, he's very politically conservative, very, good Christian young man. And he just very quietly watches the news and watches this. And I noticed that he started introducing some new isms into his verbiage. He started introducing some new sayings to his repertoire. And I'm like, some of this sounds familiar. And then I realized he's been watching Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana and literally like hijacking his sayings. And I said, I'm pretty sure I heard Senator Kennedy say this before. And he goes, he's he's my favorite in the Senate. He said he's hysterical. So he's got a huge group of kids, college campuses, that really like what he says. He joins us now via video, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana. You have to have a good sense of humor, I would think, especially because it seems that now, it's so much different from what it was 20 years ago. Everything is very hyper polarized. And I was thinking about that when I saw Senator Grassley release these documents showing that the Biden FBI was spying on a number of Republican senators during that Arctic frost investigation. I saw this headline, and then I saw the headline that it came out, John Ratcliffe had declassified documentation showing that Biden was having the CIA intervene, and they were hiding his corrupt ties and his corrupt dealings in Ukraine. Is this, based on your experience in the Senate, this seems like a very accelerated abuse of power that we saw with the last administration and then the Obama-Biden administration. Has that, talk to me a little bit about that, because it just feels like you are really being targeted by Democrats and very much were under the last administration.
Well, all of this is coming out about the Justice Department under President Biden through whistleblowers. And we don't know if we'll ever get the full story. And it's clear to me that the Biden administration was totally hypocritical about everything. They accused us of wanting to destroy democracy, and yet they were using the law and the rule of law as a weapon against their political opponents. I mean, we just found out last night that Jack Smith, the special counsel appointed by Attorney General Garland, got the telephone records of 8 sitting United States senators. He got the records, and the senators didn't know anything about it. We found out about it from a whistleblower. For reasons I'll never understand, Attorney General Garland decided to prosecute a former president of the United States who happened to be Judge Garland's boss, opponent of Judge Garland's boss, Mr. Biden. I mean, that's never happened in America. That's the sort of thing that happens in a country whose Powerball jackpot is 287 chickens and a goat. It just doesn't happen in America. And this sort of weaponizing of the Justice Department and the FBI happened every other Thursday. And now, of course, my Democratic colleagues are accusing President Trump of it. But what they did, they hid it, but now it's all coming out. And we're going to get to the bottom of it.
It seems like they impeached Trump for what Biden actually did. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, there's a lot to that. And when President Biden and Attorney General Garland decided to prosecute a political opponent, I said it at the time, Dana, they unleashed spirits they could not control. I knew as soon as they did that, for every force, there's an equal and opposite force. And here we go, off to the races. And I don't want that. I don't want the FBI or the Justice Department. I don't care what party they're in. But if they knock on my door, I don't want to have to worry about whether they're a Republican or Democrat. I think most Americans just want them to follow the law. And that's what Attorney General Bondi and FBI Director Patel are trying to clean up. And of course, as they clean it up, many of my Democratic colleagues say, well, now you're picking on us. No, they're trying to get rid of the bad apples at justice and at the FBI.
Exactly. We're talking with Senator John Kennedy from the great state of Louisiana, for those just joining us. I wanted to ask you too, Senator, because, we got this government shutdown ongoing. It seemed like
Yeah.
Republicans have done their part. Regardless of whether people liked everything that's in this bill or not, Republicans did their part. Democrats had no problem supporting it when it was Biden's level of spending and backed in the House with the CR. But now in the Senate, they're trying to prove something, but I don't think that it's working. You all have been really good on messaging with this battle. What do you anticipate happening with this, and how long do you think it's going to go on?
It could go on a while, Dana. Here's what happened. My Democratic friends try to muddy the water to make it look deep, but here's what happened. Tuesday, a week ago at midnight, our budget ran out. And a couple of weeks before that, we started talking to the Democrats in the Senate and said, look, let's just extend the then current budget for another 6 weeks so we can continue to talk about a permanent budget. And then at the last minute, the Democrats came to us and said, no, we will vote to shut down government if you do not give us $1.5 trillion, and we will tell you how to spend it. And that's the only way we will agree to open the government up for 6 more weeks.
Wow.
Well, as I've said before, my mother didn't raise a fool. And if she did, it was one of my brothers. I wasn't about to vote for that. And nor were any of my colleagues. And that's why we're in a shutdown. All we asked and are asking is to open government back up and talk to us. We're not asking for anything else. And the Dems want $1.5 trillion. And they're going to get it when donkeys fly backwards. And until then, we're going to be in a shutdown.
Yeah, and I keep hearing the fear-mongering messages. They're really trying to play up the stuff with air traffic control, and they're trying to say, these flight delays. That's because Republicans don't want to finance this. We had the same amount of delays and issues, though, under Biden-Harris. So I don't know why the public's not stupid.
No, they're not. And that's the biggest mistake that many of my Democratic colleagues make. They think the American people are stupid. And now, look, the American people may not read Aristotle every day because they're too busy earning a living. But they figure it out sooner or later what's going on. And I think most Americans who get up every day and go to work and obey the law and pay their taxes and try to do the right thing by their children see exactly what's going on. And I don't want government to be shut down, but I'm not going to be extorted. Right. And I'm not going to allow the American people to be extorted. And I know how bad all this looks. A lot of Americans are looking at this and going, we thought humans were more advanced as a species than this is a mess. And it is a mess, but it's a mess that we have to have right now.
Yeah. Last question for you, Senator. A lot of people are concerned about the increase in political violence and a lot of the rhetoric that's coming from the left. The endorsement of, things like attacking ICE agents and, trying to set fire to federal courthouses and attacking Teslas and all this other stuff. I just feel like it increases the likelihood of that continuing and ramping up because there's no condemnation of it from the left, which is where it originates. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
You can't hate. I don't hate anybody. It's hard sometimes in Washington. But when I say my prayers, I do every single time. I say, God, please don't let me hate. I disagree, but once you start treating someone you disagree with as being not just in error, but in sin, as being evil, then somehow it seems to be justice if you want to see them hurt. And people lose all perspective, Dana. They lose all perspective. There's so many things in my life more important than politics. So all I can tell folks is, look, don't worry about being a good Republican or a good Democrat. Just try to be a good human being and don't hate. Disagree, but don't hate. But unfortunately, we've seen a lot of it lately.
We have. Senator John Kennedy, I just really appreciate you. I appreciate every time. I love watching your interviews. Your show. You're one that we actually genuinely like to watch, and we do watch it. When we say we watch it, we do. I appreciate your time today, and congrats on the book.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Of course. God bless.